Hi, so in this tutorial we're going to continue adding art to our game. Last time we did the player rocket, this time we're going to add an explosion. So let's go back over to paint.net and let's add a new image. So file, new, change your width to 800 and height to 600. And let's start by making a new layer. And let's call this explosion 1. The idea of what we're going to make is we're going to make a series of explosion pieces of art, and then we're going to animate those in game, sort of just flip through different sprites in a quick sequence to make it to give it the illusion that an explosion is starting small and getting larger and then back to small again. So on explosion 1, let's choose our paintbrush. I'm going to go with this yellow color, and I'm going to have a brush width of 7, and you can modify that here with these values here, or just type it in there. So kind of keeping it small, I'm going to try to start here in the center and make a kind of like a little bang star looking thing. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'll fill that in. And now that I've got that one, I'm going to add another layer called Explosion 2. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush. I'm going to change to an orange shape, and I'm going to, just a little bit larger, start filling this out a bit bigger. Okay, and I'm going to fill that in as well. Okay, and then now I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to call this one Explosion 3. And I'm going to do the exact same thing as I did before with a paintbrush. I'm going to switch to red. And then I'm going to draw, I don't actually like that. Let's go back here and let's draw again. There we go. Yeah. Right, that's pretty clumsy. But it will hopefully look better when we get it in game, and then fill that in. Okay, we've got these 3 files all lined up, explosion 1, 2, and 3. We don't need the backgrounds, let's turn that off. And we also, for this, we're going to save these files out individually, so we can uncheck 2 and uncheck 3. So we're left with just our yellow explosion. And then let's do a file, and let's do save as. It should remember where we saved last time, and in fact it did. We're in assets and in art, and then we can drop this down to a PNG, and let's call this explosion 1. Okay, and then these default values are okay. Hit OK, and go ahead and flatten, it's fine. And then we can just go back here to layer visibility, right? And now we're not flattened again. So uncheck 1 and then check 2, and then go through that same process. Save as explosion 2, change it to a PNG, save, OK, flatten, and then back to this one, and then uncheck 2 and mark 3. Oof, that is a clumsy looking explosion. I'm missing some serious spikes here, but I'm not going to sweat it. I'm not going to get hung up on trying to make it perfect. So file, save as, and then let's change this to a PNG, and then explosion 3. There we go. And then OK, and flatten. Okay. Yep, notice now Unity just sort of saved everything up, and then explosion 1, 2, and 3 are in our project now. So select all 3, and then come over here to texture type and change this to sprite, and then hit apply. Okay, So over here on the rocket art, this object, let's add a script to this. Add FSM. And we're going to call this animation. We're actually going to spell it correctly too. All right. And then let's start with this one called init. It's a good just standard name. And then let's add another state. We're going to call this one frame 1. All right. So in frame 1, we're going to change the rocket art to an explosion art. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to basically take this sprite renderer and we're going to left click and drag it into this box. See what it says set property? We want to do that. And then change it to sprite and sprite. And the thing we're going to change it to is we're going to change it to explosion 1. And then we're going to move on to the next state. But before we do that, we want it to hang on this piece of art for just a split second. Now you can actually type these things in if you want. Like I think 0.1 is probably where it needs to be. If you do that though, and you decide you want to change the timing later, you're going to be changing it in at least 5 different places. So what I would suggest we do is we open up here and we do a thing called set float value, right? And then let's just make a variable for that. So let's say new variable wait timer. And then let's set that to 0.1. And then over here, we will change this 0.1 to a wait timer. And then we'll add a transition finished. And we'll send finish from here. And then all we have to do now is copy this. Right, so this is frame 2. We're going to connect those together. And we'll change this sprite now to be the bigger one. And we'll do it again. Control C, Control V. And then this will make our larger one. And then let's do it twice more. We'll go from large back to medium. So this was, yeah, that was medium, and then this will be small. And then one final state, which will be nothing. So we can just basically take this and put none on there. And we can delete that transition, and we can remove that wait timer. Okay. And so that's all great, except there's nothing connecting this here as well. So we need an event to come in here. So let's add an event, and let's call this explode. And then let's add this as a global transition. Explode. Okay. So now another script, we'll send an event to this script, rocket art FSM. Let's give it a name. Oh, we did. It's called animation. Just hasn't updated. There it goes. Okay. So we'll send a message to animation on rocket art to send the event explode, and it'll run through these. It'll first change the rocket art to this little explosion, and then to this, and then to this, and then back to that, and it'll just run through this cycle until it's nothing. And when it's done, there won't be anything left behind. So let's set that up so it can send a message. So here on the death FSM on the player object, open up your action browser and let's do send event. And we want to tell it where to send it to. So do game object FSM, specify, and then move rocket art into that spot. And then there's the script animation, and the event name, remember, was explode. And so yeah, if you look at what death is doing, just to recap, we're disabling the move so the player can't move around. We're disabling fuel so fuel doesn't go down. And then we're going to send the rocket art object the animation explode. So let's find out what happens. Yeah, exploded. That's weird. I can tell you what that is, where the objects are showing up all dark like that. That's because we have this directional light turned off. I'm going to turn it back on again. There we go. we'll adjust all that a little bit. There we go. Might have been too fast. You can adjust that timing really easily just by coming here and adjusting that value. I think the camera also is a little too far away to see it properly, and you can adjust that as well by, you know, messing with this as well. Okay, and that is the explode animation.